Greetings and welcome once again to my new calculus channel. My name is John Gabriel, and today I'm going to talk about the 13 fallacies of mainstream mathematics. There are a lot more, and there are a lot more idiotic ideas in mainstream mathematics that are taught as if they're fact, and you really need to know about them because if you've been through a mainstream math degree and done a master's or even gotten a PhD, you've had the wool pulled over your eyes. So let's look in this little video how mainstream math has gone off the rails, how it's become a cult, how it rejects even the most damning evidence. Okay, and in fact, the definition of a crank is really one who refuses to admit he's wrong, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. So let's begin. Now, I have an official site which is called thenewcalculus.readme.com. I'll place a link to it. It's this site here. And what you see there is the entire summarization of the single variable new calculus, which of course is easily extended to multivariable calculus, including vectors, etc. But what I'm going to show you now are the 13 fallacies, and let's begin with the first one. I hope my mic is working this time because I did actually do a bit of maintenance. So, first of all, there's no such thing as an instantaneous rate of change. This fallacy, this major calculus fallacy, was originally started by the great Isaac Newton. Okay, so he didn't really know what he was doing. And although he accomplished a lot, yes, he did, he accomplished a lot, he made some serious mistakes, and unfortunately, some prize idiots at the beginning of the 20th century took what he said and codified it. It's like the Republicans codifying, the Project 2025 garbage into the United States Constitution. In any event, in order for somebody like Gilbert's trying to do this is equivalent to a crime in the progress of mathematics. It's literally a crime because this fool has written several textbooks, and not only he, but also all of his moronic colleagues, in which they talk about this thing. And so I produced a video on this, which you can watch if you click on this. Okay, it's very easy. Just click on the link, and you'll see why this idiot, this prize idiot, like all of your prize idiot mainstream calculus professors and teachers, have missed the point, have never understood calculus or why it works. Okay, so go to this link, watch it. It's not very long. It's only, well, it's about half an hour long, but let me tell you, you'll learn more from me than you'll learn from any other idiot that claims to know things on the planet, because they don't. So the first fallacy, by the way, is that infinity is a well-formed concept. It's not. Okay, so infinity is not a well-formed concept. Whenever you hear some fool talk about infinity as if it's something that you can just use in theory and mathematics, you should automatically see a red flag rise up. Okay, because infinity is a bullshit concept. It cannot be reified in any way whatsoever. And again, at this link, which I'm not going to go to, I explain why infinity is a rubbish concept. And of course, calculus doesn't work because of it at all. In fact, the core ideas that you're told about calculus, such as limits and all that, are not the reason that calculus works. Okay, so fundamentally, The apes of the last 2,300 years haven't understood the concept of number. Okay, they're apes. I mean, they're literally stupid, incorrigibly moronic creatures with an arrogance that is greater than their assholes. I hate to be so crude, but these people are guilty of crimes against humanity. They literally are. They should be taken out and shot. And actually, worse than that, they should be tortured and then shot. That's how much damage these individuals have done. They're poison, they're toxic. And I'm not going on a rant because what I'm telling you is true. They have set back mathematics hundreds of years. Okay, the next fallacy is that there is no such thing as an infinite set. Well, of course there can't be because infinity is a bullshit concept. And of course, set theory itself is not mathematics. It's the whimsical notions of a delusional, mentally ill Jew called George Cantor. Okay, a lot of the problems in mathematics, by the way, were caused by so-called Jewish mathematicians. A lot of the fallacies that have arisen are a result of their ideas, their bad ideas. When I say bad idea, I mean an ill-formed idea. Okay, so yes, their ideas are great in mythology or Jewish fables or Jewish history, and I've got nothing against that, but there is no place for it in mathematics. Okay, set theory is not mathematics. And then, of course, we had this non-terminating radix representation, which is utter nonsense as well. And a lot of it goes back to Stephen and Newton. And of course, you know, the greatest irony here is that these baboons have never understood arithmetic and the fact that geoarithmetic came long before numbers, right? So I also explained that in my free ebook called Learning the Correct Way, and also the book that I'm selling, which is called The Ultimate Book of Numbers. So you have to buy that book, I'm afraid. It's not free. But the Learning the Correct Way is free because it is so important. Then there's this dreamy idea about an irrational number. First of all, there is no such thing as an irrational number or a transcendental number or even a real number. Those are ill-formed concepts. They're delusions created within syphilitic brains, brains like those of Dedekind, Cauchy, and all the other fools who've written hundreds of asswap dissertations on this topic and know nothing about what the meaning of number is. The fifth fallacy is that an infinite sum is not possible. So, you know, you take one wrong concept, people, and you just build more complex bullshit on it. It's still bullshit at the end of the day. And it reaches a point where it eventually collapses, as it has spectacularly, by the way. I mean, mainstream calculus has gone absolutely nowhere in the last 200 years. You've got those idiots like Jack Hazinga, who's supposedly working on differential uh, geometry. Even that phrase should raise a red flag in a brilliant mind. But most of you are morons, so you wouldn't know. Now, also, this fallacy of a third being equal to 0.333 and 1 equal to 0.999, those are both fallacies, by the way. And these were started out by that prize idiot, Leonhard Euler. Yes, he was a prize idiot. In many respects, he would have written the best algebra textbook if he hadn't made so many mistakes. In fact, he really could have had the eternal algebra textbook, but he failed. Well, that's sad. The next fallacy, the eighth fallacy, is the integral is a limit of an infinite sum. It's not. The definite integral is really just a product of arithmetic means, and get this, every integral is a line integral. Every integral, without exception. So they're all in some or other way a product of level magnitudes or arithmetic means. Okay, and those have nothing to do with non-existent infinite sums. That's fallacy number 8. Fallacy number 9 is that numbers can be derived from sets. You've seen this bullshit over and over. I mean, you've seen how idiots like that moronic Terence Tao has used Giuseppe Piano's axioms. They're actually crap axioms in his uh, book called Real Analysis. Now, honestly, you're not going to understand numbers if you read that crap. So what I've done is I've placed 3 links in my details section. That's the section that appears under the video where you have to click more and you have to read it to see where those links are. Those links tell you what numbers are, where they came from. They even tell you where arithmetic came from. It came long before numbers, and even ratio came long before number. Okay, so now, of course, the fact that numbers have always existed doesn't mean that there isn't a valid systematic way of realizing them. There is, and I explain that also in my free publications. So there is no valid construction of that garbage concept called irrational number. And of course, mainstream mathematics academics have never understood what it means for a concept to be well defined. No, you can't just out of the whims of your syphilitic brains say define X and then continue building theory on it. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So the derivative itself is not a limit and does not require the limit concept. That's fallacy number 10. And then 11, of course, the fallacy that natural numbers came first. They didn't. Ratios of line segments came long before natural numbers in the derivation, in the valid systematic derivation of numbers. And number 12 concerns one of the biggest fallacies in mathematics. Actually, there are no axioms in real mathematics. But what do you expect when a bunch of prize orangutans don't understand the foundations of mathematics? They replace it with the garbage called set theory. They haven't really replaced it. They think they have, but they haven't. And of course, there is the von Neumann ordinal derivation is really just the most laughable piece of crap in all of mathematics history. And your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren will one day laugh at your utter stupidity, you morons who've supported this. And of course, the final one is that Cauchy sequences and Dedekind cuts are a way of constructing real numbers. Oh my goodness. And I've written hundreds of articles. If you click on these links, you'll see videos on the topics. And also, if you go to my academia site, there are many free articles that you could read that show you what a bunch of rubbish you've seen. This is me when I was just maybe under a year old, and my beloved mother, who died a long time ago. Well, and a few photos of me in China where I went to avoid homelessness, and ironically I ended up homeless because of all the libel and the hatred that was directed at me from the scum that is modern mainstream academia and a particular nationality that sits on top of that shit heap, which I can't mention because if I do, they'll take my video down. So there's a particular nationality that all of you know who that is, who you can't say anything bad about, because if you do, the scum bastards will come after you and take your work down. So I don't even need to say who they are. You all know who they are. That's pretty much it. I'm John Gabriel. If you're not already a subscriber, become a subscriber. Follow me on academia.edu and study these fallacies. People, I know what I'm talking about. Really, I do. The idiots are those fools that you get into debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars and whose books you pay hundreds of dollars to read, which are not worth wiping your asses with. Or maybe your asses are used to it because you don't know how to clean your asses. simple little thing like that you don't know how to do. Now, don't take my word for anything I said. Study the things I tell you and verify that what I'm telling you is true. And if you write a shit comment, guess what, dickhead? It will just get deleted and you'll get blocked. I'm the great John Gabriel, and this is a new Calculus channel.